Tam Saganaraganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Advaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitangsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Titanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Today we'll be reading Bhagavad Gita from chapter 11, text 17.
Kiritinam Gadinam Chakrinam Cha Tejorashim Sarvato Diptimantam Pashyami Tvam Durniriksham Samantad Diptanalarka Dyutum Apameyam. Translation. Your form, adorned with
various crowns, clubs, and discs, is difficult to see because of its glaring effulgence, which is fiery and immeasurable like the sun.
18. Tvamaksharam paramam veditavyam Tvamasya vishvasya param nidhanam Tvamavyaya shashvata dharma gupta Sanatanas purusho mato me. Translation. You are the supreme primal objective.
You are the best in all the universes. You are inexhaustible, and you are the oldest. You are the maintainer of religion, the eternal personality of Godhead.
19. Anadi madhyantam anantam vyuyam anantabahum shashi surya netram pashyami tvam tipti hutashas vaktram Satejasa vishvamidam tapantam. Translation. You are the origin without beginning,
middle or end. You have numberless arms, and the sun and moon are among your great unlimited eyes. By your own radiance, you are heating this entire universe.
20. Dhyav aprativyor idam antaram hi Vyaptam tvayakena dishascha sarvaha Tristvad babhutam rupam ugram davedam Lokatrayam pravyatitam mahatman. Translation. Although you are one,
you are spread throughout the sky and the planets and all space between, O Great One. As I behold this terrible form, I see that all the planetary systems are perplexed.
21. Amihitam surasanga vishanti kechit pita pranajalayo gananti sad ityuvyukta maharshi surasanga stuvanti tam stutibi pushkalavihi. Translation. All the demigods
are surrendering and entering into you. They are very much afraid, and with folded hands they are singing the Vedic hymns.
22. Rudraditya vasavo yecha sadhya vishveshvanas marutas choshmapascha gandharva yaksha surasiddha sangha Vikshante tvam vismitas chaiva sarve. Translation. The different manifestations
of Lord Shiva, the Adityas, the Vasus, the Sadhyas, the Vishvadevas, the two Ashvins, the Maruts, the forefathers, and the Gandharvas, the Yakshas, the Asuras, and all perfected demigods are beholding you in wonder.
23. Rupam mahate bahuvaktanetram mahabahu bahubahu ruparam bahudaram bahudangstra karalam Trishvaloka Pragatitas Tataham. Translation. Almighty Armed One,
All the planets with their demigods are disturbed at seeing your many faces, eyes, arms, bellies, and legs, and your terrible teeth. And as they are disturbed, so am I.
24. Labach Prisham Deeptam Anekavarnam Vyatananam Dipta Vishalanetram Drisvahitvam Pragatitan Antaratma Dritim Na Vidandani Shavam Shavishno. Translation. O all-pervading Vishnu,
I can no longer maintain my equilibrium. Seeing your radiant colors fill the skies, and beholding your eyes and mouths, I am afraid.
25. Dangstra karalani chite mukani Dristvaiva kalanala bhani Dishona jane alabhe sharma Vasida devesha jagannivasa. Translation. O Lord of Lords,
Of the worlds, please be gracious to me. I cannot keep my balance, seeing thus your blazing death-like faces and awful teeth. In all directions, I am bewildered.
text 26 and 27. Amitvam dartarastrasya putra sarve sahaiva vanipala sangaye Bhishmo drona sutta putrasta taso sahasmadhiyur apiyoda mukhyai bhaktrani te varamana vishanti dangstra karalani bhayanakani Kechit vilagna dashantarantareshu sadrishante chunitayar uttamangaye. Translation. All the sons of Dhritarashtra,
Like kings, and Bhishma, Drona, and Karna, and all our soldiers are rushing into your mouths, their heads smashed by your fearful teeth. I see that some are being crushed between your teeth as well.
go back to text 17. Someone can read the translation.
Your form, adorned with various crowns, clubs, and discs, is difficult to see because of its glaring effulgence, which is fiery and immeasurable like the sun.
Okay, 18.
You are the supreme primal objective. You are the best in all universes. You are inexhaustible and you are the oldest. You are the maintainer of religion, the eternal personality of Godhead.
Okay, next 19 and purport.
Only the purport, right? Okay. You are without origin, middle, or end. Your glory is unlimited. You have numberless arms, and the sun and the moon are your eyes. I see you with blazing fire coming forth from your mouth, burning this entire universe by your own radiance. Purport. There is no limit to the extent of the six opulences of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here and in many other places there is repetition, but according to the scriptures, repetition of the glories of Krishna is not a literary weakness. It is said that at the time of bewilderment or wonder or of great ecstasy, statements are repeated over and over. That is not a flaw.
Text 20.
Text 20 translation. Although you are one, you are spread throughout the sky and the planets and all space between. O Great One, as I behold this terrible form, I see all the planetary systems are perplexed. Purport. Dhyai are aprityavyo, the space between heaven and earth, and Lokatrayam, three worlds, are significant words in this verse because it appears that not only Arjuna saw this universal form of the Lord, but others in other planetary systems also saw it. This vision was not a dream. All who are spiritually awake with the divine vision saw it.
So the three worlds refers to there's two ways. One way is the upper and the middle and the lower planetary systems, because there are 14 planetary systems going vertically in the universe. The bottom 7 are called the subterranean planetary systems. Below Earth, Bila, Svarga, and they are mostly inhabited by the asuras, atheists, and many serpents. Planet that's practically run by serpents, and some of them are very gigantic. We were hearing about Vasuki. Vasuki was so gigantic that he was used as a rope for churning the ocean of milk. And they brought demigods and the demons decided to make a truce, because generally they were fighting, but they got the good idea to make a truce and work together. And they had one mission, and that was to churn the ocean of milk. And from that churning, they were told that many wonderful things will come out, including nectar or ambrosia. So they all wanted that because that nectar was Amrita. It was said that it enhances your lifespan. You can live for a whole day of Brahma, a kalpa, which is a long time, 4,300,000,000 years. That's a day and a night. So it's a long time to live, and they wanted to make sure, just like now, everyone wants to make sure they get the best opportunity to live as long as possible in this world, so they make all the arrangements. They try their best. So the demigods took one side and the demons on the other. So the first thing they had to do was they had to bring the mountain, Mandara mountain, to be the churning rod. It's like when you churn milk, they have a rope and you churn it and goes around, and milk becomes churned. So the demons and demigods are very powerful. So they managed to lift up the Mandara Mountain, but it fell down on them. They were smashed. So they prayed to the Lord Vishnu, and Lord Vishnu came, and he appeared as the tortoise, Kurma, and they put the Mandara Mountain on his back, because otherwise he would just sink so heavy. The Mandara Mountain would just sink down the ocean of milk. They wouldn't be able to churn, and they wouldn't be able to get the nectar. So the Lord, he came in and as Kurma, and they put the big mountain on the back of his shell. You can imagine how big he was. Mandara Mountain, very big mountain. But he held it. And so his back, the shell, allows for a churning effect. So that way they could churn the ocean of milk. There are 7 oceans in the Bhumandala, the earthly planets, or earthly regions, and they are circular oceans, and they're gigantic. And if we were to take the size given of these oceans and then land masses, each ocean is surrounded outside of it, around it, circular, a huge land mass, and each one 10 times greater than the one before. And there's ocean of milk, ocean of ghee, ocean of liquor, ocean of yogurt, ocean of oil, ocean of clear water, ocean of sweet water. And so this is the ocean of milk we're talking about now. So they went to the ocean of milk. Now they have the Mandara Mountain on top of a tortoise. So they decided to begin the churning now. And they said, well, how are we going to find a rope big enough? So someone suggested, why don't we use Vasuki? Let's ask Vasuki to be the rope. Vasuki is a very big, huge snake. So he agreed. And so the demigods, they took the front part, the head part, and they were on one side. They were going to begin churning. And the asuras, the demons, they were given the tail part to hold. But they objected. They said, what is this? Why are you giving us the tail end? We deserve the front end. So the demons said, okay, you take the front. But the problem was with the front end is that the Vasuki had poison, flames coming out of his mouth, so much poison. And it was burning the demigods, but anyway, somehow or other they made it through. So these are the types of things going on. And then as they were churning, different things came out. Like we heard about the horse, Vaishava, wonderful horse, and the cow, Surabhi, came out, abundant milk, and the elephant, Airavata, came out. So Indra took the elephant, and Bali Maharaj took the horse, Vaishava. And different things came.
all the demigods are surrendering and entering into you. They are very much afraid, and with folded hands they are singing the Vedic hymns. Purport. The demigods in all the planetary systems feared the terrific manifestation of the universal form and its glowing effulgence, and so prayed for protection. (22) The different manifestations of Lord Shiva, the Adityas, the Vasus, the Sadhyas, the Vishwadevas, the two Ashwins, the Maruts, the forefathers, and the Gandharvas, the Yakshas, the Asuras, and all perfected demigods are beholding you in wonder. Text 23. Almighty Armed One, all the planets with their demigods are disturbed at seeing your many faces, eyes, arms, bellies, and legs, and your terrible teeth. And as they are disturbed, so am I. O all-pervading Vishnu, I can no longer maintain my equilibrium. Seeing your radiant colors fill the skies and beholding your eyes and mouths, I am afraid. So we were hearing a little bit about it's very nice at Maharaj, hearing from Maharaj about the pastime, the churning of the nectar, churning of the milk ocean. And this is in the 8th canto. I think this starts in the 8th canto. Maybe it's the 8th canto of Bhagavatam. I'm not sure. But I was always wondering what the significance of this was. That like, what's the... Because it's interesting, we hear so many pastimes, so many histories in the Bhagavatam, the Mahabharata. But I was wondering what's the overarching kind of narrative, like the main thing that's happening, and you know, because we're hearing so many different pastimes and these kind of side, different personalities within the whole overarching kind of thing. But yeah, I was hearing a class on the Mahabharata, and apparently our Acharya, our Madhvacharya, he wrote he did a translation of the Mahabharata, and he said that the Mahabharata he said that the Mahabharata was a heavily corrupted text, meaning it had been infiltrated, you know, and but the Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, is our highest epistemology, source of knowledge. We accept the Bhagavatam as Amala Purana, meaning it's spotless. And we accept it on the authority of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's God. He came and he established that the Bhagavatam is the Amala Purana. And similarly, Jiva Goswami also, he dedicated a significant amount of his time to writing his Shat Sandarbhas, which established at the beginning of the 6 Sandarbhas, the beginning, he establishes Bhagavatam as being the authoritative source of knowledge for us. And so one interesting point that this devotee was making was that there's differences in the version given in the Srimad Bhagavatam versus the versions that are told in the other translations of Mahabharata. Namely, Parikshit Maharaj, this was one example he gave, that Parikshit Maharaj's character is totally different in some versions of the Mahabharata. So we have to accept what's in the Srimad Bhagavatam as being the authority. So there are some things that will line up with the other Puranas and histories, and then there are some things that we might find contradictions, but we accept what Srimad Bhagavatam ultimately has as being the bona fide source, the bona fide authority. And that is on the strength of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was preaching that. But going back to this overarching narrative, the Mahabharata, it's the longest it's the longest text in the world. You know, it's so long. And this devotee was saying that about 20% of it is the main story, and about 80% of it is the side stories, the different personalities that are there, different characters that are there in the Mahabharata. And so this churning of the milk ocean, it's a significant event, but I was always wondering, what is it about? You know, the asuras, there's the demons and the demigods, and they're fighting. You know, what's going on here? But we know that the asuras are envious of Krishna, are envious of God, of Vishnu. You know, so they're trying their best to disturb the hierarchy that's present in the universe and just in reality. You know, is that ultimately the atheist philosophy generally boils down to that the universe is a mechanism. And in the Shastras we hear karma mimamsa philosophy. That karma mimamsa means that it's an atheistic philosophy, but basically the gist of it is that so there's the universe, we have the universe, and the universe is a mechanism, and like any mechanism it comes with a manual, and the manual is the Shastra. There's not so much question as to why it's there, whatever, but it's there, and it gives the process for how to, it gives the law of dharma is established, you know, that if I act in accordance with dharma, then I'm protected, and I act piously, and I elevate myself to the higher planets of enjoyment. And if I injure dharma, then I get injured and I will suffer. You know, so that's there. It's just a mechanism. And the gods, the demigods, and Vishnu are also similarly mechanistic. Like, the idea is that if I perform work, then the demigods are obliged, and Vishnu is obliged to give me the result, because it's a mechanistic thing. So I just do what the Vedas prescribe, and I get the result, and that's it. There's no question about it, you know. This is an atheistic kind of impersonal thing. And so this devotee was saying that the atheists are always trying to abuse the system to remove God from the picture so that they can be at the top. And they primarily do this by trying to infiltrate the system. So what that means basically practically is that like you see when Krishna was here 5,000 years ago, these demons, demoniac kings, even in Krishna book it begins, Prabhupada begins the Krishna book by saying that the earth at this time is overburdened by so many demoniac atheistic kings. And so the asuras are taking birth on earth in these royal families, trying to control society. And ultimately, what are they doing? Like Kamsa, for example. What is Kamsa doing? Kamsa's he's killing a bunch of brahmanas, right? And he's trying to kill Krishna. He's trying to kill God, because God is a threat to the enjoyment of these atheistic personalities who want to be on that level, who want to enjoy like the Supreme. And so the devotees of the Lord are. So they're thinking, this karma mimamsa philosophy, that if we disturb the Vedic sacrifices for Vishnu, then God no longer has power, right? So the whole system is disturbed, and we can establish ourselves as supreme. But that's ultimately not how it actually works, because God is eternally God. He's always in control. And he's also not dependent on the Vedic sacrifices for his power, right? But this is a system in which the demigods who are dependent on him and the other living entities who are dependent on him, they connect to him through this Vedic sacrifice. And they, the whole system is working nicely. But yeah, that was kind of, he was saying that that's the a simplified way, the overarching narrative for the story in the Mahabharata is it's a war. It's a cosmic war. It's a universal war between the devas and the demigods. I mean, the demigods and the asuras, the demons. Yeah, it's just interesting. It's an interesting explanation. And ultimately, we see Krishna's always comes out on top, And he says, Haridranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam dharma samstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. That the reason for his coming to earth is to protect the devotees and to annihilate the miscreants. Because the miscreants are disturbing the devotees. That's what they do. The devotees are engaged in serving the Lord, love, the perfection of life. And then the demons are coming and disturbing that. And then God comes and he annihilates them, and he protects the devotees, and he establishes the principles of Dharma again. So, yeah, ultimately that attempt to kill God and to enjoy his position, to try to be like him, is futile. It's not possible. Because it's not just a mechanistic thing. He's not just a mechanism like that. He's a person. But not only is he a person, but he's supreme and he's transcendental. And he's all powerful. And you see it right here. All the topmost demigods are beholding him in total awe and reverence and are terrified of this form, this Vishvarupa, this Virat Rupa. They're terrified of this form. And this is not even his most complete and perfect form either. This is his universal form. His most complete and perfect form, of course, we know as being Krishna, a two-handed coward boy. And in that form, he kills so many big demons. Kamsa. Kamsa in his previous life was a demon called Kalanemi. And this demon was actually present there in the churning of the milk ocean. And he actually was killed by Vishnu personally. And then he took his birth as Kamsa. And then he was killed personally by Krishna. But because everything that Krishna does is all good and transcendental, Kamsa actually attained liberation. He attained, he got the same form as the Lord. He had a four-handed form, Vishnu form, and was able to go to Vaikuntha. So the Lord is so merciful. And these living entities have the desire to fight with him, and he reciprocates. And he reciprocates with all living entities perfectly. The demons want to be rascal and they want to try to fight the Lord, and he comes and he fights them and he kills them. But he gives them liberation. Yeah.
Do the demons, are like the demons considered the Lord's associates as well? Like when the Lord comes down, do the demons come down as well enact these specific pastimes?
Yeah, it's described that for Kangsa, it's described that Kangsa could not stop thinking about Krishna. Right? And so obviously what kind of personality this is. He couldn't stop thinking about Krishna. And he's Krishna's uncle. In the Leela, he's Krishna's uncle. I mean, he's an exalted demon. There's so many low, like in Kali Yuga, everybody's the lowest kind of demon. But what a great demon to be actually, killed by the Lord personally. Krishna took him from his dais by the hair and just got on top of him and just punched him. Punched him with his hand, his transcendental hand, which is for the devotees as soft as anything, but was hard as just one punch killed him. But the Lord touched. So what kind of a great demon? Okay, but he was nonstop thinking about Krishna. But it's also described in the Nectar Devotion that it can't be considered bhakti because it's not favorable. Like Rupa Goswami says, Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karma dinavritam anukulyena Krishna anushinalam bhakti rutama. That it has to be, but in order for it to be considered pure devotional service, the service has to be done in a favorable mood. Then it can be considered. So he was thinking about Krishna all the time, just like the pure devotee thinks of Krishna all the time. But it was in envy and hatred, So, and it's described that when Krishna was there on the arena, I think you were actually mentioning this the other day, so many people were seeing him in different ways. For Kangsa, he was death personified. And for the wrestlers, Chanura and Mushtaka, he was the most worthy opponent for them. For Nanda Maharaj and or Vasudev, then he was their child, their most beloved child, and for the other residents and bystanders, he was beauty personified. But Kangsa was seeing him as death personified, and of course Krishna says, Mrityu sarva haras chaham, something like that. That he's death, all devouring death. But more or less, no, Kangsa doesn't have access. That kind of thinking of Krishna all the time doesn't grant one access to the more intimate, relation with Krishna. But you can see that he got liberated, and he by acquiring the Lord's form. Let's see, and there's some like Jai and Vijay. Jai and Vijay were gatekeepers in Vaikuntha for Lord Vishnu. And they had his form, they looked like him. And their service was they were guards for Vaikuntha. So one time the 4 Kumaras come, they want to see Vishnu. And basically Jai and Vijay didn't let them in. And so these 4 Kumars, they cursed Jai and Vijay. Okay, and then you're going to take birth as these demons. So they took birth as Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, who were brothers. Hiranyaksha was killed by Varahadev, which was the boar incarnation of Lord Vishnu. And his brother Hiranyakashipu was killed by Nrsingadev, who was the lion incarnation of Lord Vishnu. And that doesn't end there. They took birth again as in Krishna Lila. as Shishupal and Dantavakra, I think. Yeah. And then they were killed by Krishna. Krishna cuts Shishupal's head off with his Sudarshan chakra. And then after that, they took birth as Jagai and Madhai in the Kali Yuga. And then, yeah, so, and then they were saved by Lord Chaitanya. So, and those are associates of the Lord, personal associates of the Lord, and that's described to that's a pastime, like totally like the devotees, yeah, Jai and Vijay are devotees. So yeah, those are some examples, but let's see what else. Yeah. Let's go on reading. I think we're almost at the last text. O all-pervading Vishnu, I can no longer maintain my equilibrium. Seeing your radiant colors fill the skies and beholding your eyes and mouths, I am afraid. O Lord of Lords, O refuge of the worlds, please be gracious to me. I cannot keep my balance, seeing thus your blazing death-like faces and awful teeth. In all directions I am bewildered. Yeah, so it's described that the devotees, they don't really particularly like this form of Krishna because it's not it's not as transcendently perfect as his personal form, his two-handed form, which is most perfect. And in his form as a youth, is the most perfect. There's a nice verse. Premanjana churita bhakti vilo chanena santa sadaive hridayeshu vilokayanti yang shama sundaram achinta guna sarupam govinda mari purusham tamaham bhajami. Lord Brahma says this, that the devotees of the Lord, they see the Lord with their eyes are tinged with the salve of love for Him, pure love for Him, so they're able to see Him. And where do they see Him? They see Him within their heart, in that form, as a youth, a coward boy. And that's His eternal original form, Govinda. Govinda Mari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. And so the devotees prefer that form, which is the most perfect form. And in that form, most perfect because the most variety of relationship is there within that form. You know, this Vishwarupa, Virat Rupa, is more or less impersonal. The main kind of relationship we see here with the Lord and His devotees in this form is awe and reverence. But there's fear and ghastliness there because these forms are terrifying. Arjuna says, I am afraid. You know, the most perfect demigods, the aspects of Lord Shiva, Brahma is personally, and Indra, all the demigods are there, folded hands, offering prayers in that mood of awe and reverence because, that's just, that's all. There's not enough. There's only room for that relationship, right? But with Krishna in that form, Shama Sundar, then or Govinda, then that form has the most variety of service that one can perform, and transcendental relationships are there. Of course, in that form, conjugal love, Madhurya Ras, the highest manifestation of love of Godhead is available. So that's the most perfect form. And the devotees don't really particularly like this form. It's very ghastly. Of course, yeah, so we don't have so much more time. Would you want to say anything, Prabhu? Jai. Bhagavad Gita ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.